Hi, this is Bonnie Gordon, and you're listening to the FSF Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the FSF Podcast. I'm Tim, I'm your host, and today we are bringing you yet another show made by nerds for nerds. Now, our guest today is an up-and-coming voice actor and singer. Now, if you're not familiar with her yet, you need to be. She's going to be very popular very soon because she does a lot of really cool things. We're going to get into all of that, but you've more than likely heard her on Mega Man 11, Shield of Tomorrow, Street Fighter 5, and as the ship's computer in Star Trek Prodigy. You know, that really cool show out on Netflix right now? Heck yeah. Anyway, we are super excited and proud to welcome Bonnie Gordon to the FSF Podcast. Welcome to the show, Bonnie.
Yay! Thank you so much. Thank
Yeah.
you. I'm glad to be here. Hello, everyone.
Hello. Yeah, no, honestly, very excited. The more I looked into it after we talked with John Billingsley, and he was like, "You got to get Bonnie on the show." And I'm like, "Well, absolutely, we'd love to get Bonnie on the show."
I
Uh,
love Billingsley. He's such a
right?
troublemaker.
It's hard,
Yeah,
right? In all the best
he's
ways possible. I always tell people that John is unhinged in the best way possible. Uh,
absolutely, absolutely. What a free thinking weirdo. I just love him so much. And
exactly.
his wife Bonnie. We share the same name. Of course, she's great.
Yeah. Throughout the entirety of our interview, he was clarifying that she was Bonnie 1, you were Bonnie 2 every time we were talking about you.
Yes.
He's like Bonnie number 2 helps me with, with the Hollywood Food Coalition, and you're doing this and we're doing that, and so
Yeah,
it was
he's
pretty entertaining.
wonderful. He's a great
Yeah, absolutely.
person.
Now, so Bonnie, in addition to Star Trek and John Billingsley talking about you in all kinds of Bonnie 2 polite terms, the more research I've done about you, I've noticed that you have an absolute love for all things D&D.
Oh,
And
absolutely. I mean,
yeah,
I'm a well-rounded nerd. So, I got my hands in all kinds of pots, except for
well,
one in the kitchen. I'm not much of a cook. So,
that's okay. So, what is it about D&D or similar tabletop games that attract you to that style of play?
I mean, when it comes to things like Dungeons and Dragons and any type of tabletop role-playing game, it's just play. You're just playing pretend. I love, I was very lucky to be on Geek and Sundry back in the day,
Right?
and I was on their Star Trek TTRPG show, as well as a couple of other ones like Callisto 6, which was kind of like a cyberpunk superhero one. And what I love the most about playing these types of games is the character creation and coming up with a character that's, I wouldn't say not only not only just interesting, but I always love having something in my backstory that's a secret that is not revealed until way later in the gameplay. Like I'm talking months later, or I think Shield of Tomorrow's terms, I waited over a year before revealing my secrets of my character. So
Oh,
that's the
that's
kind of
cool.
stuff that I love. What motivates this character? What makes them do the things that they do? Why are they choosing to do the things that they do? And then later, when revealing my secrets, I love to see the player's face of just like, "Are you kidding me?" Like everyone at the table around me. Usually, the dungeon master knows a bit more, but I love that so much. But all it is really, yes, there's numbers, there's rules, there's things you have to do, but really all it is improv and, you know, working together to find some kind of solution for a
Right?
quest or a problem or a, battle. So I don't know. I think there's nothing quite like it. With video games, they're wonderful but there's something really special about sitting across a table from someone and like having that, like just losing track of time in real time and just sitting around a table with
Yeah.
friends laughing or just having that emotional connection in person, but still able to play. Yeah.
No, I agree.
Anyway.
Now, no, that's great. So for me, I only started playing any type of tabletop role playing games within the last 2 years. So I had gone the majority of my, because growing up, none of my friends were interested in them and didn't want to play. And
Oh, for sure.
so, yeah, so they were too cool for that. But so with our podcast, we started doing a Star Wars version of D&D, Star Wars RPG. And I remember the first couple episodes that we did, I was just kind of like, so I roll a dice now. Yeah, no, not now. Okay, when I have these? When do I roll these? What are these for? And
Yeah.
I was so confused the first couple episodes of what I was doing and everything else. But now, like you mentioned, we get into it and we do about a 2-hour session every once a month for the show. And I find that at the end of that episode, I'm like, we're done already?
Yeah,
We
you
just got
lose track
started.
of time. 3, 4
Yeah,
hours pass and you're like, "Wait a minute." It's like being in a time warp,
exactly.
a time paradox.
But yeah, I have had more fun with it than I ever thought was possible with that game, and I'm
Mm.
having such fun. We've actually talked about starting a Star Trek version as well, since
Star Trek
we,
Adventures is fantastic.
but
Oh,
we'll see. We're
we just started one. I just started one on Monday, last Monday, a
oh,
new one,
nice.
called the Excelsior. We're in an Excelsior class ship.
Okay,
It's the last. It's like the last hoorah of this class ship, and it's like basically an antique flying through space. But it's like the last voyage of this one ship that we're doing. I play
very cool.
The Andorian like chief of security tactical officer. So it's
Oh, neat.
exciting.
All right.
Hmm.
Now, one of the other things I noticed though too, Bonnie, is that I often see you as a bard. Is that like your go-to class? Is that, or
Oh, I love playing bards.
is
Well,
just because if you're singing?
yeah, I'm basically a bard in real life. So
Well, yeah.
I do try and, play other types of classes, but playing a bard is just so fulfilling for me because I know I'm strong at coming up with strong songs and jingles and like musical quips quickly. So for me, what better way to pull into my strengths and it just keeps my brain sharp because it's so much improv and things are happening around me. And anytime I use a spell, I like to challenge myself and have a musical element to it. So
Oh,
yeah,
cool, cool.
so I
All
love
right.
playing bards. Bards are my favorite, hands down. But I do enjoy a nice rogue or ranger. I've played quite a few. I think I've played every
Okay.
class in one way or another, but I always go back to bards or rogues. Those are my two favorite.
Okay. Yeah, because as I was, we like we know that it's digital stalking, but we like to call it research. But as I was going
Yeah,
through like your Instagram page, I was
sure.
scrolling, I was scrolling through, and I'm like, Bard, 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 Bard.
Well, in my defense, my comedy band is called the Library Bards. So
Right.
I use that word quite a bit in a lot of my posts because I am a real life bard. My comedy band is the Library Bards. I play a lot of bards in
Oh,
D&D.
sure.
So I'm just a bard. I'm bard core, Tim. Come on.
Yeah. Oh, no defense required. I just thought it was really cool that I think if you identify with something so significantly and it's a part of your personality, why wouldn't you go with that? I mean, yeah, you want to challenge yourself from time to time, but having the
Sure.
opportunity to like you said, steer into your strengths and do the things that are fun, I think is kind of important. And
Yeah.
I think that makes the game more fun because I think that if you were playing something that was always a challenge for you, I think that kind of takes away some of the enjoyment. But
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
excuse me, we're gonna edit
for
that out.
me, oh, you
Excuse
okay?
me.
It's
Yeah,
okay. I know I get emotional when I talk about bards too.
I got verklempt to clutch my pearls.
I-
Uh,
oh,
but hey, let's talk. Let's shift gears here a little bit away
sure.
from D&D just for a moment. Now, one of the reasons we wanted to have you on the show is, of course, because of Star Trek Prodigy, which is
Woohoo.
now on Netflix. Season 2 has just released, and of
Oh,
course,
so
you are
good.
the voice of the ship's computer, and it is fantastic. And guys, if you haven't watched it yet because you don't have a Netflix account, Netflix needs your money. So you need to go and
Do a
get
free
yourself a
trial
Netflix
and binge
subscription.
all of the seasons. Just do it.
That's
It's
right.
only season 1 and 2.
That's right.
They're only 22 minutes long each episode. You can do it.
Yeah, it's not
You
hard.
could
They're
binge
not a
them
hard
both in a
watch
week.
either.
Easy. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Right. Well, not to
I
mention that they're
watched all
highly
of season
entertaining
2
along
in
the
one
way.
day. Just I mean, not just because I'm on it and, wanted to see everything in its final glory, but I just was loving the story. I was like, this is so good.
Yeah.
We recorded this over a year ago and I didn't get to see every script and, every plot point. So the like small kernels that I did see of season 2, I was like, I've got to see this full season. And entirety quickly before spoilers had. I know what was going to happen, and I was still surprised at a lot of things. So I love the show. It's wonderful. I'm not saying that
Yeah.
because I'm on. It's just that good.
No, it is that good,
And I
honestly.
play about 4 or 5 characters on it. Most people see me just as the computer, but I'm quite
Oh,
a few
that's right.
other
Yeah.
bridge officers, and I'm I'm the pregnant Boolean woman in sick bay who gives birth, and
Oh,
I play a bunch of
nice.
little parts. Yeah,
That's great. Okay. So
yeah.
what storylines are you most looking forward to seeing people's reaction to?
I love, I do love the that we finally get a good look at cetacean ops, and everyone's loving Gillian the whale that I
Hmm.
got to voice. So I'm loving people's reaction to that. I love people's reactions to the Janeway Chakotay, relationship, and their, finally having that, almost like that, not closure per se, but Janeway's been looking for Chakotay for so long.
Hmm.
Finally having that resolution of them being reunited. Spoilers is amazing to watch, and also all the people who ship Janeway and Chakotay together. Even though they don't outrightly say it, the love for each other and their chemistry and
Right.
their affection for each other is there, and you can visibly see that.
Okay. I think
Yeah.
one of the big storylines for me too was the return of Wesley. Um,
Well, yeah.
so
I mean, I was trying not to say it because that's such a big, what?
yeah.
Spoiler, but at the same time, it's
Spoiler.
been out for a while. Yeah,
Spoiler.
spoiler alert. Put a big like red alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert. Wesley Crusher is back as a traveler, and it's amazing. He's basically Doctor Who in the Star Trek verse.
Right? It's so
He's so
cool.
quirky and fun. I love what they've done with his character. I love what Will Wheaton has done, and what a
Hmm.
what a way for him to kind of own that character again. There's so much.
Yeah.
I feel like there's so much negative memories he has attached to his
His
journey in
time.
Star
Yeah.
Trek and his time
Yeah.
there, to where like he doesn't always look at it with positive reactions, and now to be able to bring Wesley Crusher back and kind of almost rebirth the character in a new way, and like have
Yeah.
him be able to like kind of redeem his. I mean, Wesley's a badass in this. It's insane. I love it. I just love all the cameos, the Easter eggs. I love that Picard was a part of it as the Doctor, the EMH. I mean,
Yeah.
I love what they've done with the story arcs of the Prodigy characters, especially Zero. I think it's so beautiful what they've done with Zero, of how they've always just wanted to feel, and being non-corporeal, and not having an actual
Right.
body. Finally getting a story arc where they get to, what's the word I'm looking for, experience sensations and their senses, and
Hmm.
I just love what they've done with this whole story, and it's such a good
Agreed.
time travel uh, season. I mean, it
Yeah.
takes time travel and the wibbly wobbly of time paradoxes, and turns it into something not only kids can somewhat understand, but like just sci-fi fans in general will just eat up, because it's done in such a beautiful, respectful way.
Yeah. When we had Aaron Waltke on the show, one of the things that I
Oh,
mentioned to
he's
Aaron.
brilliant. He's brilliant.
Oh, yes, he is. Yeah. I had a fantastic conversation with him. One of the things that I most enjoy about this show, um, and the reason, so truth be told, and I mentioned this to Aaron. Now, before Star Trek Prodigy, I was not what you would call a Star Trek fan. Uh,
Oh, look at you. We've brought you into the fold.
yeah, you did. And it was because of Star Trek Prodigy. I was like, well, this isn't so bad. I could watch something else. And I went from that to Strange New Worlds to TOS into TNG, and you know,
Ooh, look at you. You're making the
yeah,
rounds.
started
Okay.
hopping around. So and oh, and there's some lower decks in there too, but
Of course.
um, of course. Uh, but one of the things I liked about this show is that usually when it's a kid, when it's a kids show, is that the children don't have real stakes in front of them. There's not real feelings and emotions and real
Right.
dangers and all these different things. It's always, and yeah, they're the main characters, so we know that they're not going to die, but there are some
There's some high
real life
stakes in there.
consequences. Yeah, some high stakes, some real life consequences to
Absolutely.
actions and decisions, and all these different things. And I thought that was such a cool thing, and I was worried, and I'm always worried when, there's a change in direction in a show. Not that there was a change of direction from who was writing or producing and directing, that kind of thing, but from, going from a CBS show to being a Netflix show, with that type of direction.
Well, it's still
Um,
CBS.
yeah.
It's still CBS and Nickelodeon.
Well,
It's just
yeah,
the
yeah.
distribution, Paramount Plus just pulled the plug. Yeah.
Well, true.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I get what you're saying though.
Yeah, but
Absolutely.
I was just worried that maybe that trend wouldn't be followed, that something wouldn't, that wouldn't carry through, and that totally didn't happen. It's still very written very much the same way.
They don't dumb it
I
down for the kids. And
no,
honestly, I wouldn't consider it a kid show. I more consider it a family show because this is something parents
agreed.
can sit down with their kids and everyone gets something out of it. The kids enjoy it because it's, action packed and beautifully animated. The adults enjoy it because I mean, it is good storytelling, good sci-fi,
Absolutely.
good Star Trek. I love how many people are giving it a shot now. A lot of people, watched the first couple episodes of season 1 and just kind of was like, "Nah, it's not for me." And so many of them are coming back to it after hearing the
Hmm.
reviews and the hype about season 2. A lot
Yeah.
of Trek fans are coming back and giving season 1 a chance and then, binging everything and watching it all. And it's so wonderful seeing so many people embrace it now and giving it a second chance. And
Yeah.
it's such a great show too because you don't have to know anything about Star Trek, especially in season 1,
No,
because the kids don't know anything about the Federation or Starfleet. You're learning
that's
it
one of the
with
things I
them.
love.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like a how to Trek for
Yeah.
dummies,
It's
honestly.
like, great, this is the
Um,
replicator. This is the transporter. This is what the Federation stands for. This is this. You learn with them. And so it's such a
yeah.
great introduction to Star Trek, not just for kids and the next generation of Trekkies, but for people who love sci-fi but maybe never got into Trek, like you're a perfect example.
Hmm.
Not really having much knowledge of Star Trek and then being introduced to it through Prodigy. Now you can go back and you can watch all of these shows knowing the lingo, knowing what the Federation stands for, knowing the different alien species that they encounter. You're already familiar with it. And
Hmm.
it's a nice little
Yeah. So
like Star Trek 101, you know.
yeah. Yeah, so many more things made sense after I watched Prodigy, when I go back and watch other shows, because I had watched some of the shows previously, but I'm not going to
Yes.
pretend like I was completely tracking with everything that was happening on screen. And there are still times where I have a couple friends who are my Trek Sherpas. One of them, her name is Jessie. She runs a podcast called the Crusher Convo,
Oh, I
and
love
'cause she's a
that.
big Beverly Crusher fan.
Oh, who isn't?
Yeah. Uh, yeah, but she's a Bev head, and so I talk with her, and I'll be like, "All right, Jesse, what the heck does this mean?" And she'll translate it into Tim terms, which is usually means
She speaks Tim.
which usually means there's a crayon and a board somewhere, and
Uh
she breaks it down for me. But that's
Amazing.
kind of what I felt like this show did for me. It
Yeah.
helped me be able to understand, follow the storyline, and go, "Oh, okay, so that's why this is going on, and that's why that's happening, and that's what that
Mhm.
thing is." Okay, and it helps to make the rest of the shows more understandable and enjoyable. Because before I had tried like jumping into like DS9 a couple episodes and some Voyager before trying all this, and I was completely lost as to who these people were, what was going on,
Right.
what are they doing, how they show, and I
Yeah,
watched
what's
like
the
2 or 3
Maquis?
episodes,
What's
and
this? What's the yeah.
yeah, a couple episodes, and I was done. But yeah, I think this is
But now, give it another chance. You already know who, now you know Janeway. And watching
exactly,
her
and
watching Voyager now, you understand like so much respect of where that character started from to where it is now. And the fact that
right,
she got to bring Janeway back. Janeway's my favorite captain. I mean, obviously
well,
so,
that's
not
cool.
just because of Prodigy, but because she was the first real female captain of Star Trek
Sure.
and
Oh,
just was
absolutely, yeah.
like, I felt like the writers didn't really know what to do with her per se, but Kate Mulgrew was such a great actress that she just
Hmm.
would take what she was given and just turn it into, one of the best performances ever. Like and also her story is so different from all the other captains because she's in a part of space where there is no Federation. They're on their own trying to get back home. So she's had to deal with things that no Federation captain has ever had to deal with, which is
Right.
being all alone with no Starfleet help while still still having the structure and rules of the Federation throughout, to keep everyone unified. Anyway, I'm
Yeah,
just
one of the
rambling
things
now.
yeah. No, that's fine. I like rambling. It's just that way I know it's not me rambling. Um, but one of the things I actually have grown to really appreciate about her, um, I didn't realize that she was such a coffee hound. And
Oh, yes.
I'm a straight up coffee addict. So every time I see her with something, I'm like, and she's like,
Drinking some right now.
somebody
Mhm.
sent me, yeah, somebody sent me a TikTok the other day of just Janeway ordering coffee in a bunch of different ways, and they're like, literally you. And
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, she might be my soul. She might be my spirit animal.
Yeah. My
Um,
favorite line she's ever given really is, when they're trying to, the replicators are low on, their energy source or whatnot. And there's a nebula that they find that might be able to refuel their
okay,
replicator um, banks, I guess you could say. And that's where she gets her coffee from, is the replicator. So they're all having to like ration their replicating, you know, they have to, start eating actual fresh produce and stuff and not just keep relying on the replicator. And the best line I feel like ever is, she's looking at this nebula and, they're like, Captain, should we risk it? Should we do this? And she's like, let's do it. There's coffee in that nebula. But like just saying, basically she just wants that coffee so bad that she's willing to risk everything to get that energy source, to get that coffee. I'm like, that's my girl. There's coffee in that
right.
nebula. Mm-hmm.
That was one of the parts in the TikTok that I was sent.
Yep.
The other one that I appreciated was that somebody said, Captain, do you think you've had enough coffee? That's your fourth already. She's like, nope, time for another. And she starts
Yeah.
pouring her fifth cup. And I'm like,
Yep.
we could hang.
I
So
love and Prodigy, how they made her start drinking tea, and it's like she's like her like doctor's orders to start drinking tea, and she's just like
right.
miserable, miserable. Anyway,
I understand that.
yeah, I love that the Janeway hologram also drinks coffee. It's like what a fun character,
Right.
quirk. Of like, of course,
Absolutely.
the hologram has a little holographic cup of coffee at all times.
Well, wouldn't be Janeway if she didn't. So
Absolutely, you're darn right.
all right. Let's see. I also noticed that there's another show out now. It apparently is coming out with new episodes every Tuesday, and I think you're voicing 5 characters in it, called Crayola Crew.
Oh, yes, the little Crayola. They're little small episodes, like 4 or 5 minute long, maybe even 2-3 minutes. But I
All
play
right.
like throughout the season. I play about 5 characters. I think in the first episode I played 2. Uh, but yeah, throughout the whole series,
Okay.
it's really cute. It's about using your imagination. It's a bunch of kids, using crayons to draw, and then their drawings kind of come to life, and they're transported into the little world. And there's different crayon characters, like the pink one, the red, the blue, like all the different colors um, of the crayons, and they all have their own individual personalities and help the kids use their imagination to create things around them and help it come to life. So it's super cute. I have a 3-year-old nephew. It's one of the reasons, of course, I agreed to do that show, because I love children. I love working with kids, and which is why
Right.
I'm so excited. Out of all the Star Trek shows, I'm on the one that is basically aimed for children and aimed to really, I don't know, it just makes me so happy. Anyway, I'm again rambling, but I have a 3-year-old nephew, and my sister's also pregnant right now with my future niece, and I'm so excited.
Woohoo! Awesome.
So to be able to do a show that's aimed for very young, small children, that he can watch and hear his Aunt Bonnie, work, it makes
That's
me
cool.
very, very happy that I can be a part
Yeah,
of
that's
his
very cool.
growing. Yeah.
That's very cool. Where can people find that show at?
YouTube. It's all on YouTube. Just search Crayola Crew or look on my social media. I think I posted the first episode. I'll be sharing a couple more episodes as well. There's a new episode that dropped today. I got to go look it up. Make sure I'm not missing out anything cool.
All right. Very cool. Yeah, it looks really cute, and it looks like it's a lot of fun. So
Absolutely, it is super fun. It's an adorable show.
Excellent. All right. Now, last year, you also served as the co-host to the several times aforementioned John Billingsley for the Trek Talks telethon.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
I was hoping that you could remind the audience about purpose of Trek Talks and how the Hollywood Food Coalition helps those in need.
Absolutely. John Billingsley, he's, one of the faces of this charity, and they do such amazing work. I don't think people realize how much of um, would epidemic be the right word for it? Like, it's just it's such a huge problem out here on the West Coast, the homeless, um, community. And, so many people, whether they're homeless or not, there's so many people who go hungry in this city, especially. Um, who've just been down on their luck and can't afford to eat,
Mm-hmm.
can't afford a meal. And they also work in tangent with hundreds of charities all over, the country, the world. So it's not just aimed for, the Los Angeles and Southern California area. They do charity work all over. But it's really, working with grocery stores and working with restaurants and different other places that have all this food that just gets kind of thrown away and not
Right.
used. That I think is how it started. Again, I could be giving you all the wrong information. This is more of a John thing to ask, but with the Hollywood Food Coalition, because he's such a big part of it, he's really
Mm-hmm.
grabbed the Trek community to help. And we do Trek Talks every year. It's a charity telethon, and we also do look into Trek-A-Vision. It's a new not new, actually, it's been going on for a while, but Trek-A-Vision, it's a podcast, it's a movement, basically highlighting the people and the charities and the communities that are doing the work in bringing Roddenberry's vision to life,
Okay.
of doing different charity work and doing good for the community, and doing and being the frontliners for different things, like, women in STEM, and teaching kids about
Mm-hmm.
science and what it's like to create a future that could possibly be the Federation. So really, there's so many different Star Trek actors that are associated with different charities or have their own charities. Chase Masterson's a perfect example. Todd Stashwick. All of these actors who do so much good for their communities. Arwen is another example.
Mm-hmm.
Quite opposite of his character Quark. But he and his wife also do a lot of charity work for different
Yes, they do.
organizations. And I love that the Star Trek actors and the Star Trek community and the fans and just everyone involved really push, like, really believe in that type of future. And John Billingsley with the Hollywood Food Coalition is just one example. But I loved being a part of Trek Talks. I've been the co-host for it now for 3 years,
Oh,
and
for 3 years. Okay, cool.
I think maybe 2 years. I don't know. Who knows? Two going on three. Math is hard, but being a
Yeah. Oh,
part
I
of
get.
it,
Trust me, I get it.
yeah, being a part of it, and you know, being able to use my platform and my voice literally and figuratively for good is such a fulfilling feeling. And knowing that the Trek community really comes together and believes in this type of charity and this type
Mm-hmm.
of work is just a testimony for what Star Trek could be for our actual future, and what the Trek community is powerful, and they're honestly the best type of fans, in my opinion. No offense to other fandoms out there, but I think the Trekkies, I mean,
No,
man, can
no
we come
offense to anyone.
together?
I will say that is for sure. Now, last year was my first year with any level of involvement around anywhere near Trek Talks.
Okay.
We had John on right before
Oh,
um,
great. Yeah, yeah,
Trek
yeah.
Talks, and we were able to talk about the Hollywood Food Coalition with him and
Excellent.
everything else, and that was kind of our introduction. Um, and we got and John was so willing to come on our show because this was our second. It was our second year of helping
Yeah.
Armin and Kitty do the Purple Stride for pancreatic cancer. And but last year was my first year kind of sitting in and watching everything that happened with Trek Talks and the panels, by the way, that you guys have on the day throughout the day. If you're a hardcore Trek fan, even a round the edges Trek fan like I was, uh, it's a great time hearing people talk about their characters, about the shows, about all these different things, and the
Hmm.
interactions, of course, between the Star Trek actors themselves. I thought was fantastic because um, as John has said. And Armin has said that it's not just, they're not just friends anymore, they're all family. And
Exactly. It
you
is a
you can
family.
really see that on the stage. Yeah, you can really see that on the stage between everybody and how they interact. So but cool.
What's been so great too is how welcoming they've all been to me into the Star Trek family. When you put things into
Hmm.
perspective, I'm mostly like the bottom of the totem pole of Trek, and the fact that everyone's been so welcoming to me, and I've been doing a lot of hosting and emceeing at the conventions, as well as moderating panels and doing music acts, and honestly, the Star Trek community and the
Right.
Star Trek actors, it is a family, and they've welcomed me so graciously.
That's
Yeah,
very cool.
yeah,
Yeah, graciously, you nailed it. You got it. Uh, all right, so let's. That's actually a great segue into my next question. And this
sure,
is a question I love to ask of anybody that has something to do in one of the what I call the five IPs. So Star Wars, Star Trek, Marvel, DC, Lord of the Rings.
perfect. I love all of
But what does it mean?
those.
What exactly, right? They're the big five. Uh, but what does it mean for you personally to be able to put your stamp on something in the Star Trek universe?
There's not really any words. As much as I ramble and talk, believe it or not, there's not real. I feel like there's not even enough words to describe the immense joy I feel to be a part of this fandom, and not just a part of the Star Trek fandom, but to be a part of Prodigy in particular, the show that,
Hmm.
again, we've talked about this, that introduces kids to Star Trek. To be a part of a show that's going to be the front runner of, like that is like the first, when people think of Star Trek, like what got you into Star Trek, the fact that a lot of them now will be able to say Star Trek Prodigy, the show that I'm on, is such a cool thing to think of.
Right.
And
Yeah.
and I was part of the Star Trek experience in Las Vegas. And being a part of that, it was like, just it was just a job for me at the time, but that's what got me into Star Trek. And I to go from there to this is insane. It's wild to think that from where I started as a little 21 year old, on the bridge going like, Commander Riker, we have to get them to the battle shuttle bay, like, to where now I'm actually in Star Trek, and having sitting at the same dinner table with Jonathan Frakes going like, what is my life right now? It's so surreal. And I wish I could go back to my younger self and be like, hang in there, things are gonna turn out pretty cool for you. Yeah.
Right.
But
Very cool.
it's such a it's joyous, honestly, and to be able to meet the fans, to be able to go to the conventions and be a part of them, and you know whether my part be big or small, to know that something I'm a part of is making a difference in someone's life is really special. And the fact that I'm able to
That is
create more music and do things, and the Trek community is behind me on it and wants to be a part of it as I go. I just love it. Yeah.
yeah, that is very cool. That is
Yeah.
very cool. All right, Bonnie, I have one final question for you. We
Okay,
like
I'm
to call
ready.
it our
Ooh.
yeah, it's a silly question.
Oh, okay, okay. I'm
So
gonna.
you can answer this as silly or as serious as you'd like. But we started asking this because my co-host Kathleen has a 5-year-old daughter, and people were asking her daughter this question, but not her. And so
Oh,
Kathleen
okay.
was like, "Come on, you can ask me this too." So the question is, Bonnie Gordon, what's your
Yes.
favorite dinosaur?
Oh, that is a great question. Oh man. Oh man. I'm going through all my favorite like dinosaur movies and dinosaur things. I mean, I feel like I always thought triceratops were cool because they were badass but also vegetarians. They're kind of like the rhinos
Mhm.
or the hippos. Yeah, they're like big badasses, but they can still
Yes,
survive a
absolutely.
fight. I feel like they're pretty cool, and I think pterodactyls are also great. We pretty much have
Hmm.
dinosaurs today when you look at birds, and
Right.
so I feel like I always also loved, I was such a fan of the Land Before Time, those cartoons.
Oh, absolutely, yeah,
So
for sure.
I always thought, the character of Sarah, which is the Triceratops, was so kind of like the mean one, like the bully of their group. But they did such a fine job of making her, she still had a heart and she still cared about her friends and was loyal and kind when she needed to be. And so I always loved
Mhm.
her character arc in the Land Before Time series. So maybe that's why I like Triceratops so much, because
Absolutely.
she was very protective of them, but at the same time, kind of
Three
like
horns don't hang out with long necks.
exactly. But at the same time, they all found common ground.
Absolutely.
I always loved the yip yip yip
Um,
yip yip.
Ducky.
Ducky.
Yeah. Yeah, I loved those movies when I was a kid. But yeah, uh, I love Triceratops as well. And honestly, your answer that you gave about them being the prehistoric rhinos is why I like them, because I always thought rhinos were really cool. And I was like, three
Yeah.
horns, it's a triple rhino. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. If we're gonna be quite literal in this, my favorite dinosaur would be the little chicken nugget kinds, because then I get to dip them in ketchup and eat them. So that's technically that if you want to get literal with it, that's my actual answer. The chicken
yeah,
nugget
fantastic.
dinosaurs.
That's
Yeah.
right, the little dino nuggets. Absolutely.
Hmm.
Very good. Well, Bonnie, I have been so thrilled that you were able to cut some time out of your schedule for us. I mean, I know that you've been
Yes.
super busy,
And
so
thank you so much for
I do
working with
appreciate this.
my availability.
Yeah.
I appreciate
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
your schedule for me.
Yeah. So where can our listeners and followers go to find out more about what you've got coming and see more about your work?
Oh my gosh, I have so much coming up. If you search my social media, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Patreon, pretty much anywhere you can find anyone, just search at Bonnie Bell G, which is my handle for everything, as well as at Library Bards. It's like library cards, but with a B. That's where you can find all my comedy parody music with my band. You can find my solo music under my actual name, Bonnie Gordon. And I have so many conventions coming up and of different appearances and shows. So keep an eye on that. I'm even doing the UK. I'm performing on the West End in
Oh,
December. So
cool.
I'm so excited for that. So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
I'm pretty easy to find. I'm pretty Googleable. If you search my name, I'm pretty easy to find everywhere. Yeah, I'm a Googleable girl.
That's something that's going to get worked into the vocabulary. Googleable.
Yeah, I'm
All
very
right, I
Googleable.
love it. Fantastic. All right, I will make sure that we put those links down in the show notes down below so people
Thank you
can
so much.
kind
Appreciate
of
it.
check them out and track what you got coming up.
Oh
And
yeah.
this seems like, guys, a good time as any to remind you that subscribing is the single most important thing you can do at this point to help our show to continue to grow, to get amazing guests like Bonnie here to come
Ta-da!
on the show. That's right. And have funny moments and things for you guys to be able to listen to. So we really do appreciate it. Please subscribe. It does more than we'll ever be able to really explain. But also, when you're done subscribing on our stuff, make sure you go subscribe to Bonnie's stuff and follow her and make sure you know what she's doing as well. She's got some cool stuff coming. So
I
yeah, you're gonna,
do. Oh, you do stuff I can't even talk about, That's
and that's the thing.
the
That's the
downside of
great thing.
NDAs. It's like, "Oh, what are you in right now?" I'm like, "I can't say." Oh, yeah.
Exactly. I always tell people at the end of all these interviews that they have some amazing stuff coming up, because I know that everybody's got NDAs and I know it's all going to be amazing, and I'm looking forward to it just as much as you guys are looking forward to releasing it. So,
Yeah.
but again,
One thing I can announce
oh
though
yeah.
is there's a new sci-fi series that we're supposed to be shooting the pilot soon called Manhattan Transfer. It's a sci-fi series that stars a lot of sci-fi actors, Casper Van Dien from Starship Troopers,
Oh, nice.
and
Nice,
then
nice.
Tim Russ, Doug Jones, John Billingsley,
Cool.
Dominic Keaton, and me. I'm also in it. So check it out. You can go to manhattantransfer.tv to find out more info. It's pretty cool.
Fantastic. All right. Very cool. We'll put a link to that as well in the show notes.
Yeah,
Perfect.
wonderful.
All right, guys. That's going to wrap us up for the FSF Podcast. Come back next week. Goodbye.
Live long and prosper.
Copyright 2024 FSF Podcast. Reference to any specific product or entity mentioned on this podcast does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by FSF Podcast. The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. If you have any questions about this disclaimer, please contact us via email at info@fsfpopcast.com.